September 10th, 2024. So, okay, so, all right. Can everybody still hear me?
Yes.
I assume so. Okay, well then let's do introductions. Why don't we, well, first of all, just for the record, I'm Roseanne Ashby. I am a member of the Accessibility Subcommittee and hope to become a member of the Transit Advisory Committee. I understand that is not official yet, but Pierre said he was looking into it. So anyway, who do we have from the county with us tonight?
Yes, here in the room in Bozeman, have Clinton Edwards, Transit Services Manager, and I'll pass it over to Rocco.
Hello, I'm Rocco Visconti. I'm the Associate Planner for Art and Star. And we also have Josh Uribe in the room with us.
Joshua Uribe, Transit Intern.
Good. Anyone else from the county? I don't
Yes, good evening.
Oh.
Yes, good evening. Pierre Alleman, Assistant Transit Chief.
Hey, Pierre.
And Paul Mounier, I'm the service planner for the art bus service.
Excellent. Okay. Okay, and Kent, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Kent Keyser, member of the subcommittee. Thank you, Roseanne.
Very good. And there's just the two of us. And I understand we have some other people on the line. So Clinton, can you help me please with calling out the phone numbers?
Yeah, I'll let, Rocco has it up on his screen, so I'll let him call out the names and numbers.
Okay.
Sure. Well, first I see Sharon Dunham. She has her camera on. She'd like to introduce
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Okay.
It's very nice to meet you, Sharon.
And Sharon, welcome. We go way back. Way back. All right.
And then I also see Linda B. Mataris.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Welcome.
And we also have Sheila Hill.
Hi, Sheila.
From the Star Call Center.
Yeah,
Good
I'm glad you could be
afternoon.
with us. I'm glad you could be with us today. That's great.
Thank you.
And then we have three phone numbers. We have 703-839-5975.
And can you identify yourself, please? I'm not sure if you're muted, maybe.
Perhaps they are dialing in, so perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know if *6 would unmute you, but I'm not sure who that is. So.
Okay. We also have two other phone numbers. We have 571-249-7699.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Ashley Fernandez with Diamond Transportation.
Hi, Ashley. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to have you here, Ashley. And then we also have 571-233-8477.
Miss Sabrina Brown from the Star Call Center.
Hi, Sabrina.
Sabrina.
Welcome. So we don't, let's go back to the one phone number that we couldn't catch.
It was 703-839-5975.
Okay, well, anyway, perhaps they'll be able to get themselves unmuted at some point. Why don't we do this? Oh, go
Ms.
ahead.
Ashby would you like that person, that unnamed person, to remain as a
I don't have a
participant
problem
in this
with it.
meeting?
Yeah, I mean, this is a public meeting, so there's no problem.
All right.
Okay, so I'd like to take public comment. We'd limit it usually to 3 minutes per person. So I guess Sharon, if you have comments, or Linda, I don't know. I assume, Linda, you are a member of the public. I don't know you, but either one of you who would like to start, if you have comments.
I don't have any comments.
No comments? Okay, all right, that's fine. And Linda, do you have any comments you want to share? Okay, I guess not. I'm assuming I heard 2 participants entering the lobby. Is that right? Rocco, did we get some additional participants?
We got D. Fernandez.
Okay. And D, are you do you work for the county or are you a member of the public? Okay, I'm not sure. So
no, they're muted. So
okay, if you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Miss Ashby, that person made a comment that said that I am deaf. Was their comment?
Okay, I understand. All right. So, do you have comments you want to share in the chat window?
I'll ask Rocco to send a message to,
they said they have no public comment.
Okay, that's fine. And then who else? Was there someone else that we haven't called on?
I think the other person was Joshua Reby joining from his personal computer.
Okay. So we're all set then.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will move forward with our agenda then. We always do have time for public comment in the beginning of each meeting. So I just want to make sure folks know that they are always welcome to participate in that way. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the meeting notes from May 14. And I know I had asked that there be some additional detail put in the meeting notes, and that has occurred. I believe, Kent, you have a concern, as do I, regarding the meeting notes. Do you want to share that concern here?
Yes, thanks, Roseanne. I've got 2 concerns. The first is under STAR survey questions. I'm still trying to get information as to how the zones became an issue in the second questionnaire. Mr. Edwards, you sent me the responses from the second survey, which of course had the zone discussion there, but I need the feedback from the first survey.
May I have a point of clarification? This agenda
Sure.
item is discussing the May 14th meeting notes that Rocco's, that I sent out to the committee the Sunday before Labor Day. So you're making a request from those notes, correct?
That's correct. And it goes back to the I believe the March notes as well too.
I think if you don't mind, maybe I can clarify a little bit. Neither Kent nor I can figure out the origin of the concern about the zones. When there was discussion of eliminating possibly zone 3, and ultimately you all did not eliminate any zones, which we certainly appreciate. But I think our concern is, where did that come from? Was that a staff recommendation? We don't think it came from members of the public.
Okay, so you all are referring to the section about the STAR survey questions and trying to figure out the origin of the elimination of zones.
Right.
Okay. We will get back with our public engagement team.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to look back at the questions from the first engagement just to make sure that, because at this point it was over a year ago when we did engagement one. So we want to make sure how we developed that question regarding the zones, that we accurately portray that message.
Okay.
I know we did some level of analysis looking at the FY23 completed trips by zone, that we were able to distinguish the usage per zone based on all completed FY23 trips.
I can see that, certainly.
Yes.
I can understand that for sure. But I think our concern is we don't want this attributed as part of the public survey or public comment process through the survey if in fact it was not. If it was a staff recommendation, then I think it needs to be identified correctly. And Kent, please tell me if I'm capturing our discussion on this.
You are exactly on target.
Okay, so please provide the medium in which you want that captured. Do you just want us to answer that question, or do you want that to be reflected in the March and the May meeting notes?
Well, if I could, Roseanne, well, both. And we need, what you were going to get us were the comments from the first survey, but we got comments from the second survey, the open-ended comments. So that what we need are the comments from the first survey, the open-ended questions. Because as you recall, there were no questions in the first survey related to zones. Zones were mentioned in the first survey.
So the request is for the open-ended redacted comments from survey one from last September.
Correct.
And then obviously we'd want to make a note in the minutes, correct? The notes.
Correct.
Yeah. So they need to be amended with a brief, insert or something.
Right.
Does that make sense, Clinton? Are you understanding our concern?
I understand your concern. I understand the request.
Mm-hmm.
What we'll have to work on outside of this committee meeting is how to capture that in meeting notes from March and September.
Okay. I mean, that's March and May. March and May, right? Yeah.
March and May, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, I understand that. I mean, I think at this point, so Kent, you had another concern, I believe.
Yes, ma'am. On under Arlington Transit July 2024 service and fare changes, we had a discussion, or I did, and Mr. Edwards, about the fiscal increase that the STAR increases would impact the county. And Mr. Edwards, if you remember, I saw a figure with the full increase the impact would have been 55,000. So it just got reflected in the notes that the full increase, they picked up the 55,000, but it was half of that increase. So that should, instead of 55,000, it should read 27,500. You recall that discussion?
Okay. I do, yes. So we can, Rocco is making note of that to make that modification to 27,500.
Okay. All right.
And with that, I move, Madam Chairman, that we adopt the notes from the May and March meetings with the understanding that they will be corrected to our concerns that we've mentioned.
I second that. And what I would hope is that we would be able to see those in fairly short order. I hate to wait until November. I mean, to look at those. If we could dispose of these minutes before then, or, because they need to be posted. I think that's one of my concerns. I really want to strive for transparency in our processes here.
Well, what we'll do this week is that we will capture as best what we can from what we've gathered here and send this back out to you all to make sure that we've captured this as is.
Okay, and then Kent, you and I will pledge to turn this around fairly quickly then.
So with the understanding that until that is remedied, the notes of this meeting will not be posted to the website.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But as I say, I don't want to wait until November. I really want to kind of get this done.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is it's the one revision from taking the 55,000 to 27,500.
Right.
And then the modification on the open-ended comments from survey 1.
Right, right. And again, if the zone recommendation was something that the staff recommended, it just needs to be noted that way based on analysis or whatever, but it needs to be attributed properly. So, okay, can we move on to the next item? The next item I'm seeing here is a recap of the Transit Capital Project Tour, which I want to say I thoroughly enjoyed the tour. So who wants to talk about this?
Madam Chair, this is Pierre Alleman again. This will be a verbal update of the tour. The TAC at their 7 o'clock meeting will receive a brief presentation just to go over the sites that we visited, just to give the Accessibility Subcommittee some context. At the end of July, every year the TAC has an annual Transit Capital Projects Tour, whereby members of the TAC and the public are welcome to join and see a lot of the great work that we do, and they get a firsthand look at some of our big projects. So for this year's tour, we took the TAC and members of the public to the Art Operations and Maintenance Facility, which is going to be our new home for art. It's currently almost done. We're almost at the finish line. But if you're not familiar with the site, it's located between I-395 and on the western side, Shillington Road, in the Green Valley neighborhood of Arlington. This facility has 7 maintenance bays, and I believe if we can mute the person speaking. This facility has 7 maintenance bays as well as a steam wash bay, and it will hold our operations and also admin for art. The next site that we took a visit to.
Excuse me, I'm here. Could someone who's speaking please mute themselves, because we want to be able to hear Pierre well.
When are you going to be?
Whoever is speaking, I don't know, Rocco, if there's a way to figure out whose line that is. Sometimes a host can figure that out.
Okay.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
Just a quick recap of what I just noted. Our first site that we visited was the Arlington Transit Operations and Maintenance Facility. This is a brand new facility that's under construction. It's on the eastern side is I-395, and on the western side it's Shillington Road. If you're not familiar with the site, it's in the Green Valley neighborhood of Arlington, and it's the new home of art. And we hopefully will have buses move into the facility by the end of this fall. But we did take the TAC inside. The TAC had a chance to hear a presentation about the construction activities that have occurred, as well as what's to come. And like I mentioned, what's to come is that the facility is planning to open by the end of this fall. The next site that we took a visit to was the Shillington Station. Shillington Station is a current project where we're looking to do expansion. The current station has several challenges in terms of not just buses coming in and out, but also just the facility itself. It was open in 2008. However, we've outgrown that facility, so we're looking to make some expansion and opportunities there for existing service as well as future art service, the Alexandria Western Transitway, as well as anything that will come from the WMATA Better Bus study. The next site that we took a visit to was Pentagon City, and we had an opportunity to hear a presentation on the elevator. In this particular project, the elevator will provide access on the western side of South Hayes Street, and that will provide 2 elevator connections, one on the east side and one on the west side to the Metro Rail station. That project is also near completion and expected to be open by the end of this fall. In our last stop, we took a visit to Crystal City and heard a presentation on the Crystal City East Entrance Metro Station project. This project will be a new entrance to Crystal City Metro, and we just started construction within the last few months, and the construction is expected to take next 3 years to complete. Other than that, I thought the tour was great. We did receive a lot of feedback, a lot of questions. And if anyone has questions on our projects, please feel free to contact me or the project managers who are overseeing the projects. I'm open for questions.
I was very impressed by the tour, and I just want to share that. I was impressed by the staff and the knowledge that they displayed when they made their presentations. They were very interesting, and I particularly found it interesting how, Arlington County is partnering with other, communities and other partners to fund some of these projects, particularly the Crystal City, expansion of that Metro Rail station was very interesting, I thought. I will make one comment, Pierre. I thought I heard that the elevator was supposed to be finished by the end of August or early September, and I know a couple weeks ago it wasn't finished. I just heard you say that it will be sometime later this fall. So there's been some delay or something has occurred, I imagine.
Yeah, so with that particular project, it does require acceptance, and there's a lot of testing that needs to happen since it is a facility that's going to transfer a lot of people to the station mezzanine. So there has to be a lot of testing. There also has to be acceptance by WMATA. So the county is building this project and is going to turn it over to WMATA, the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, for their after the county completes this work. WMATA would then take it on and operate and maintain the elevator.
Okay. Kent, did you have any questions or concerns on these projects?
Just a couple, Madam Chairwoman. Sorry. The Shirlington station is I would call my home station, and the footprint there is very small already. And the expansion space, I think you're looking to go across the street in the parking lot that's there now. It's already a very, very busy intersection. So I'm wondering in the accessibility of getting into the current station is rather precarious for wheelchair users, because the sidewalk is so narrow. By the time you hit the button to get in the door, you have to do as I recall, a quick turnaround, or you have to do some kind of hocus pocus with your wheelchair. And I'm just wondering, who does your accessibility assessments on these projects?
Okay, so the great question. At this time, STV, who's our consultant, they're actually looking into accessibility and looking at feasibility for expansion. So a lot of the things that you mentioned, those were things that we identified when we did our site visit. These are things that we want to improve as part of the expansion project. And once STV completes their feasibility report, it will identify several options. And with those options, it's going to include improved accessibility. It's going to include potential having facilities across the street to catch a bus. It may also include changing the layout of the station. So that work by STV is expected to be completed by the end of this fall as well. And once we have that, we'll have at least a playbook to come up with a concept design. So right now, a lot of things are on the table. We don't have a final plan just yet, but we are seeking public input. And there is information on the current project site, which is Shirlington Station expansion on the county site. Individuals can go and take the survey and provide feedback and noting a lot of the things that you just noted, but also provide additional feedback, and that will be helpful in terms of staff as well as SCV developing concept plans that will work for the future, now and the future.
And is that information, the potential for public comment, is that, or the availability of public comment, is that being advertised on social media and with like the environmental services? I'm on X, and I know they do a lot of announcements.
Yes.
And so they're doing that on this project?
Yeah, so there have been several blasts. There was 2 email blasts recently by the Department of Environmental Services related to this particular public outreach effort and survey. We've done social media blasts. We've also have pop-up events. We have an upcoming pop-up event at the station, I believe next week or the week after next. We had one a few weeks ago. But yes, there has been a lot of either email blasts and social media communication about the survey and getting people to take the survey.
Okay, just to give you a heads up, I've received none of those. I don't know if you have, Madam Chairwoman, but
I have seen them because I get the Transit Advisory Committee notifications, and Pierre had put that in there, I guess, a couple weeks ago or whatever. I did see that.
Okay.
But Kent is correct. Kent is correct, though. We need to make sure, you know, and our committee really should take a look at some of this stuff too. I mean, in terms of the accessibility, maybe, and I don't know, like when you get their study, would we be able to have access to some of that information and maybe have some recommendations regarding?
Yes, we can allow have the committee review the draft before anything goes out for final. I don't see an issue with getting feedback. I think having additional feedback and set of eyes is great. So once we have the draft, we will have this committee subcommittee have a chance to review.
I think that would be very appropriate, and we appreciate that, Pierre. So
yes, thank you.
And Ken, did you have anything else on this particular agenda item?
That's it, ma'am.
Okay. The next the next item is the
Chair Ashby?
Oh, yes.
We've had some other attendees join the meeting this evening.
Okay.
Would you like to acknowledge them or have
Absolutely. Them? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I was not aware of it.
All right, so those attendees that have dialed in, if you could unmute yourself and introduce yourself, please.
I'm concerned that we're having trouble with folks unmuting themselves. I don't know what's happening. And I notice it's particularly prevalent amongst folks who are on the phone. So I don't know. I hope there's not a problem with our teams. Do we have phone numbers that could be read aloud?
We can read the last 4. Of course, with this being a recorded meeting, we don't want to.
I understand. I understand.
Yes.
Well, we have a name that joined. It was Samantha Bond.
Okay. All right. And you know, we did miss them in terms of public comment. I assume these are members of the public. Samantha, welcome. And I don't know if you have any concerns that you wanted to raise. I mean, I would say if you want to do that and if you can unmute yourself, we'd be happy to hear. Yeah, I just don't know what's happening with the mute.
Yeah,
problem.
Samantha has not unmuted herself.
Yeah, okay.
I believe she's joining from the computer, so.
Okay, all right. And who else do we have? Anyone else? We don't know. We don't know.
We have a couple more phone numbers that joined.
Call out the last 4.
The last 4 are 571-249-7699.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. And I assume people cannot unmute. I hope that's not a function of our Teams. Like, is there a setting in Teams where folks?
It shouldn't be.
Okay. Okay.
We've ensured that they're all haven't allowed them to use their microphones.
Okay. And was there another phone number as well?
Yeah, I can read the phone number ending in 1155.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. And nobody can speak. Any of you is welcome to speak if you can.
Yes, phone number ending in 5975 and phone number ending in 6501.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We have to figure this out though, because it's not good if folks can't speak if they want.
Yeah, there's the option. Everything is working fine on our end. We see them. They have the ability to unmute.
Is it *6 to unmute? Do you guys know? I'm thinking of Zoom, so I may be wrong about Teams. I don't know if it's the same.
There's someone.
Oh, I hear someone. Go ahead.
Yes, you have to select. You have to select *6 in order to unmute yourself, and then *6 to mute yourself. So everyone else, it's automatically muted.
I see.
And can you hear me? This is Robbie Worth.
Yes, I can hear you, Robbie.
Okay. So I'm the 703-864-6501, and I got an invitation for the Zoom, but nobody was on it, so I dialed in.
Got it. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm glad you joined us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I heard another person speak. Again, if you have any comments, we can take them very briefly here. *6 to unmute, folks. Okay. Well, we'll proceed at this point then. The next item on our agenda is an overview of the Arlington Transit Microtransit Pilot. Who is going to be presenting this one?
Paul Meunier is going to be presenting this one. He is coming on the screen right now.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me pull up the presentation very quickly. Oh, the presentation is up. Okay. Yes, this is just going to be a brief overview of the Arlington Microtransit Implementation Plan. We're putting a plan together to implement a pilot for microtransit, and we'll get started. Next slide, please. So basically, we want to just talk briefly about the overview and intended outcomes, building on some previous planning that we did. There have been several other planning efforts that we've done. As I said, this is not a plan or a study. This is to get the implementation ready to go for a pilot. We'll talk about what microtransit is, the implementation, planning, and a timeline. And I will touch very briefly on developing the service metrics and engagement and communication approach. Next slide, please. So there's been, as I said, multiple previous efforts to study microtransit in the county. The most recent planning document we have is the strategic plan, which recommended a zone in Northwest Arlington. It's not, as I said, this is not an additional study, and my cat is wanting to join the meeting. Okay. You here, maybe. So again, this is not a study. What we're looking for is to develop a service model and define the zone, recommended procurement method and technical language. The scope of what we're doing. We want to expedite this because there has been service lost in the North County that we would like to have this replace that service with. And one of the other things is that the metrics that we will assess whether the pilot is a success. And then some key target dates are completion on the recommendation or the scoping of what we will be doing, an RFP, if that is needed. We're also looking at other procurement vehicles to try to make it move faster. If we do go RFP, we would like to award the pilot in spring and then start up launch activities in summer of 2025. Launch activities include getting a contractor in, making sure we have vehicles, making sure we have an operations facility. Next slide, please. So on the screen, to the right of some text that I'll read off in a minute is a map of the area. The proposed microtransit area is bound on the east side by Glebe Road, on the south side by Route 29 Langston Boulevard, and then on the western and northern sides by the county line. So that area of the county is where the proposed zone is to be put in. Just to go over the other plans we've done, 2016 completed a transit development plan which introduced the idea of microtransit. 2019 there was a guide for implementing flexible transportation services done by COG, and then in 2023 this was revisited in the Arlington strategic plan. There's been a lot that has changed between 2019 and today in the delivering of microtransit. That's why we are just doing this quick implementation plan to make sure that we are getting the best and newest and best information we can. The zones identified in the Arlington Transit Strategic Plan. And the reason for that is the removal of low-performing routes and proximity to Virginia Hospital Center. So those are a couple of the factors that went into selecting this zone. And we are accelerating this as a pilot program. In the 2016 plan, 2026 was identified as the start date, and in the Arlington's most recent strategic plan, it was identified as a mid-range recommendation that would still be a few years out, but we are accelerating it due to some eliminations that happened earlier. Next slide, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask a question, but and for those of us who are not transit experts, can you give an example of what micro transit is? What exactly do you mean? I understand why we need it. I understand that, but yeah.
So the next slide, which is very pertinent to your question, what is microtransit? This slide has, it says what is microtransit at the top, and it has an infographic on here describing it, microtransit, which I'll go through. There is a finger that looks like it's pushing a button. So this service is on demand. It's a demand service that you can order rides in real time or reserve rides. The next is a picture of two what look like mobile devices, like an iPhone or a mobile phone. And so it's technology enabled. That means there will be some type of app that you will use to schedule trips. And the next icon is two arrows crossing over each other, which is representing flexibility. It accommodates riders whose schedules may not fit the fixed route service. Also, the fact that you can't get the enough people riding at one time. This allows you to portion out the rides. The third is a triangle with a little map icon, which talks about the zone. So a zone is where the trips typically start and end in a predefined area. But we are looking at some points outside that area, in particular East Falls Church, Virginia Hospital Center is on the edge, and a couple of community centers that would be available, but the trip would need to start in the zone and end, either start in the zone or end in the zone. So you from those nodes. And the final is a little icon of a bus with 4 people in it. One of the things we want to emphasize is that we are trying to encourage shared rides. Shared rides help keep the cost down per trip and have the system run more efficiently. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's very helpful. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, and then the last slide is a implementation. It says at the top, implementation and planning launch timeline. This is a timeline that's laid out, has icons for various different milestones, starting in October 23 with the completion of the strategic plan. In July 24, we began starting work on this pilot plan. Right now, we are at what is briefing 1, where we have briefed our leadership. We're also coming to the TAC to talk to you and introduce what we are doing here. We will also be doing some targeted public outreach in the next month or two. We will be doing, it will be in the next month. Particularly one of the events that we want to do is a pop-up at East Falls Church in the afternoon to let people know that this is coming. Even though we still may be as much as a year out, we do want people to start thinking about this and understanding that it is coming. In November, the final plan will be, our scope of work is going to be completed. This is what would be the basis of any RFP or procurement that we are doing. In January 2025, we will start our RFP procurement process. We are looking at other ways other than just a request for proposal to expedite this. In spring of 2025, we plan to have the contract awarded, and in summer of 2025, start the launch activities, onboarding the contractor, making sure vehicles are acquired, and there's an operations facility that we can use. I want to emphasize this is a pilot. This is the first shot that we're going into testing out microtransit. Based on what happens in the pilot and the findings we have, this may turn into a program, or if this doesn't seem to be appropriate for Arlington, we would not continue it, but we would be doing significant outreach after the pilot begins and as people are using it to see what's working and what's not. And
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
I was going to say that's all I have. So are there any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to make the comment that I really think this has a lot of potential, but we need to make sure that this is accessible as it's being developed, both, in terms of physical accessibility for folks in wheelchairs. If we're talking about apps, that the apps are accessible to folks who, have vision impairment. So I just wanted to make that comment. So I hope that's part of your consideration as you think through this.
Absolutely, that's a big consideration for vehicle types, and it's also a consideration for possibly having a phone call center in addition to an app. So those details haven't been fleshed out completely yet, but absolutely are considerations.
Right. Very good. Kent, did you have any questions about this agenda item?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm interested in how are we paying for this?
This plan is being paid for through a partnership between Arlington County and the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation. The county was awarded an FY24 grant to cover this implementation plan. Operations funding will be determined at a later date.
And how much was the grant for?
The grant was for $150,000. The split is 50% county, 50% state. It's in the 6-year improvement plan that is on the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation website.
So that's just the planning money, correct?
Yes, the implementation plan. Operations, we will not know a cost until we go to some level of procurement to determine the mode of operation and the actual cost of operations.
Okay. So I understand that I recall that the ART route was deleted in the area because of low ridership. So this is an effort to serve the area. But I'm wondering about the criteria. You mentioned the proximity to Virginia Hospital Center and, of course, the low performing fixed routes that were removed. Were there any other criteria?
I would say probably not, because as we were going through the strategic plan, one of the big concerns we have is where we were eliminating service. And this is, in fact, the one area in the county where we're actually eliminating services. So in all other cases, I believe people will be getting weekend service and increased frequencies during the off-peak during the weekdays, generally in the strategic plan. So this is to try to mitigate the issues there and test to see if this plan is appropriate, if a microtransit, on-demand microtransit would be appropriate for Arlington.
Right. Did you do outreach in the area to see if people were interested in transit?
As part of the strategic plan, we did speak to people. We had over, I think, 20 public outreach events, many of them in this area at East Falls Church. So I was myself at a farmer's market. People seemed very positive about the idea of microtransit. There were some people that were, showed a preference for fixed route transit. But as I said, looking at the lowest performing routes, these were the routes that were impacted the most.
Okay. Did you consider household income?
We did not. We did not look at demographics. We were looking more at bus service coverage.
If you were to overlay a map of household income over that zone, you would find that it was among the highest in the county. So I'm wondering why we're expending scarce dollars, public dollars, on the wealthiest part of the county.
Mr. Keyser, this was.
Oh, I hadn't finished yet. I'm sorry, Mr. Edwards. You want to interrupt and go ahead?
Oh, go ahead. I apologize. Please continue.
Sure. So I'm just wondering, with so many needs in the other parts of the county, and particularly since paratransit has been promised a basic form of microtransit since at least 2015, with the on-demand, the app, real-time tracking, why that wasn't considered. And I'm just sort of flabbergasted that we're doing this in a very wealthy, the wealthiest, next to the wealthiest section. If you did the map, you would find that the northwest is the wealthiest section, household income, but the adjacent zone and part of the zone, the northwest part of the zone, is part of the wealthiest, and then the second tier of wealth on the map that I looked at is completely in there. Was Virginia Hospital Center consulted with this about this?
The reason Virginia Hospital Center was selected is because there is sort of a minor transit hub there. There's services that will be going to that area, and this would be another way of delivering people there. So I would also say you need to overlay the transit map on that income map, and we're trying to provide transit to everybody in the county. And this is the area where we've cut transit. Everywhere else is getting boost to transit through the Arlington strategic plan. More off-peak service, more midday service, more weekend service. Those are in the areas that support transit. We would like to keep fixed route transit. We think that that's important. We can transport more people more efficiently. This is also just a pilot. We want to try it out, and we felt that at least through the plan, this was the area that's receiving divestment in transit, and we're trying to see if there is something that will work in this area. And like I said, if this is a successful pilot, we would definitely be open to expanding to other areas of the county.
Well, you understand that microtransit is all around us. We're a sort of a desert for microtransit in the metropolitan area. You're familiar with paratransit in Alexandria and in Washington, D.C.?
I am familiar with paratransit more with Fairfax County and Loudoun County. I am not as familiar with the paratransit in Washington other than Metro Access.
Well, maybe we can have a conversation offline and talk about that. But that is my major concern, and I'll get back with you. You make some public comments on that, etc. But thank you, Madam Chair.
No, you're welcome. Okay, could I have a time check, please? I'm aware.
We have 6 minutes remaining until 6 o'clock.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's talk about Art and Star system-wide performance then. We will have to run over a little bit, but let's see if we can do that.
Sure.
I'm going to need a time checker. I'm afraid I can't check the time when I'm on the computer here.
Sure. Okay. I will be brief with this then. Sorry. There's a full presentation that's going to be presented at the TAC by Joshua Drucker. I am presenting this version both for the sake of time, and also this is all information pertinent to this accessibility subcommittee. This is an Art and Star year over year, meaning our fiscal years, which is from July of the previous year to June of the current year. So we're doing year over year system-wide review from fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 23. So to go over that. Okay.
One of the things I've been concerned about, and I don't want to interrupt you, is that we had the fare increase on July 1 of this year. That is going to probably impact these data. And we can't do it tonight, but I do want to see the data for this first quarter, as we're entering this fiscal year.
Yes, definitely. Definitely that's something we're looking at as well. Right now, we're still in the first quarter of this fiscal year, but hopefully after the end of September, we'll get a very good picture of how that's impacted service performance for at least the first quarter of fiscal year 25.
Right.
But just some basic stats for Art. Year over year, fiscal year 24 was 485,808 passengers higher than in fiscal year 23. So just shy of 500,000 more passengers rode in fiscal year 24 than 23. We had a decrease in on-time performance by 8% in fiscal year 24 versus fiscal year 23. And there are definitely a number of factors that contributed to that this year. And then customer complaints year over year is up by 57 from fiscal year 24 from fiscal year 23. And definitely something we have prioritized in addressing this year as well. Definitely come back to that if you have any questions or comments at the end. But also we have STAR. STAR ridership in fiscal year 24 was up by 4,128 passengers. Trip cancellations and no-shows were up by 339. And the number of customer comments and complaints is down by 53 year over year.
Okay.
And then very briefly at the end, we just went over a recap of the new fare structure. The adult fare is now $2.25 per trip for art. And the new fare group for select groups, the new fare is $1.10. You can still ride art buses or WMATA. Is still a free transfer with the transfer policy. This was implemented on July 1st and matches WMATA's increase, and it has increased our overall fare revenue. So that's the presentation. Please let me know if there are any questions or comments regarding it.
Kent, do you have anything that we need to address tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Can you explain under the STAR figures what percentage of service efficiency means?
Sure. Percentage of service efficiency means the actual number of trips completed it's versus the number of trips that were booked. So we have the number in blue. It's the actual number of trips completed. And the efficiency is simply the percentage of that versus the total number of trips that were scheduled.
So that's why the cancellations and the no-shows?
Yeah, that includes cancellations and no-shows from both the provider and the customer.
Okay. Why do we not do an orange-to-orange comparison? Why can't we have on-time performance as a metric in the STAR review?
We normally can include on-time performance as a metric for our monthly metrics reports. But yes, that was not included on this presentation. But on our regularly updated metrics reports, we do include it.
Okay. And those are posted online?
Yes, those are posted on the ART website.
Okay. And you didn't include the STAR increase in fares in the new fare structure review.
I can go over that quickly. If you
no, I don't need you to go over it. I'm just saying that it's not included, so that the TAC, might see $1.10 a trip and think that's a daggone good value compared to a $10 trip on STAR. So I just think it's it's important that you include STAR fares to put things in perspective.
Yes, definitely.
I think we need a much broader discussion of data, which unfortunately we don't have time for tonight. So next time we will move this up in the meeting agenda. I think it's important.
Thank you.
So, okay. Clinton, do you have a STAR contract update for us?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair, Mr. Keyser. Where I sent you a copy of the STAR RFP that closed in June. Proposals have been received and are under review by the county's procurement office.
When do you think there'll be a contract?
Could not say. I'd have to actually, they have to be reviewed, of course, and go through all of the proper mechanisms. So as as there are providers on this call, it would not be
Right.
appropriate to discuss that.
Okay, I understand. Okay, well, please keep us apprised. We did both read the RFP, so we definitely want to know as things progress.
Absolutely, yes. And all of my updates I get directly from the procurement office. Since it's a ongoing procurement, it is very limited what I am able to share with the community.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Now we come to the items that the subcommittee members want to present. And again, I'll be brief, but there's 3 items here. Strategies for expanding the subcommittee membership. Now, this is something that both Kent and I feel strongly about. We can have up to 7 members. We are both actively reaching out to people with disabilities who live in the county. But I will ask once again, I've asked before, I do want a notice sent to the STAR users and explaining that this subcommittee exists, its purpose, and how to express interest in becoming a member. I think we really need to expand this subcommittee to make it meaningful. So can this be done rather soon?
Yes, ma'am. Would you be willing to draft what you would like sent out to make sure that it's...
I will draft something up. Because I hate to have another meeting come in November and have Kent and me be the only voices representing people with disabilities in this community. So
Absolutely.
I will draft something up.
If you draft it up and just give us a kind of we don't want to overburden them. We don't want to send it out on a daily basis. So just your thought as far as the frequency that is sent out between now and the next meeting. So we can talk about that offline, but we can definitely get that notification out.
That sounds good.
And we can send it out to all of the registered STAR users whom we have active email addresses for.
Okay. And Kent, do you have anything on this particular topic you wanted to share?
That was my. You covered it sufficiently. Thank you.
Oh, okay. And the next item is proposed changes to the STAR Rider Guide. I appreciate, Rocco, that you explained that the updated version of the guide was only changed in terms of the fare structure, because when we saw the date of July 2024, I think Kent and I were concerned, well, what else could have changed? And we didn't have a track change version. So my understanding from you is that those were basically the only changes, pretty much.
Yes. The only thing touched in the updating of it was the fare structure to reflect our new policy.
Okay. Well, that I'm relieved because I was concerned about what else could have changed. So as far as I'm concerned, we can table this issue for now. Kent, do you have anything on this one that you need to bring up?
No, I agree with you completely.
Okay. And then the last one is art accessibility issues. Is the gentleman here who is in charge of the art program, or I thought I heard?
Yes, he is sitting right in front of you. Here he is.
So I want to talk about the bus accessibility that I experience, because I do use art. I use the 45, I use the 41, primarily those because they're on the Columbia Pike area. And one of my concerns is, well, several of my concerns, the announcements are not always played audibly. I cannot always hear them. Sometimes they're not played at all. Sometimes they are so soft that you can't hear them. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a technical problem. I don't know whether it's an issue that the driver doesn't know how to operate the announcements. I really don't know why, but they need to be consistent. So that's a concern.
So Ms. Ashby, I will share with you that is top of mind. There is a resident within the county that contacted me and our director of transportation 16 times yesterday because the announcements are too loud.
Oh, too loud. Okay.
The 3 of us that are sitting in this room today went out and listened to audio announcements on buses 5312. We listened to announcements on, I can tell you 5404, 5312, 5400, 5307, and 5314.
Okay.
We are actively trying to figure out the challenge we're having with the announcements. Some of the buses I listed had normal audio external announcements, some did not. It's something with our IT system that we're trying to figure out, but in the same vein, you're saying that they're too soft. We heard some that did not make announcements and some that are blaring through the entire
Right, and you're correct. Sometimes they are quite loud. I mean, they're all over the place, and sometimes they're non-existent. So I'm glad to hear you're looking into it. I look forward to hearing more about this.
Yeah. So, and just to give you another tidbit, we just received 15 new Gillig buses. We feel like the 15 we just received 2 months ago, they are too loud. So we're looking at trying to figure out a global solution to these external announcements so that they're comfortable for all users, and they also meet the design for which they're used for AD accessibility.
Absolutely. And another thing I would like to see is when a bus pulls up to a bus stop, and they see a driver sees a blind person standing there, I don't hear anyone, no announcement saying this is the 45. Some drivers will call out to you, this is a 45, but you don't always get that. So you have to figure it out and ask. And so all I'm saying is, to me, this is an issue of driver training. I honestly thought that the announcement should be on external so that you could hear it, but that doesn't happen. So anyway,
yes, like I said today, and the three of us that are in this room, in our observations, some are making the announcements and some are not.
Right. And
but
this
those
is
that were, they do announce the route that it's on and where the bus is.
Okay.
So this is something we're actively, because we've been interacting and trying to get a handle on this. We felt like we pinpointed it yesterday, but we will have it pinpointed before this weekend.
And especially when you have a bus stop where you've got metro buses and ART buses and different routes, and it can be confusing. It can be confusing. And in some stations, like the Ballston station, they don't always use the same bus bay either. And that's something that I personally find frustrating. Because I want to make sure I get on the right bus, and sometimes you have to kind of run around and figure it out. So again, I don't know why some of these things are happening. I don't know whether it's an issue of driver training. That's the other thing.
The fleet would be centrally programmed to be audible at all times. So we feel like it's a global issue that we are now investigating.
What about, though, just pulling into, are they supposed to pull into the same bay at a metro stop, or do they just use whatever bus bay they can find?
There are assigned bays at the metro bay stop. Unless there's another vehicle in the bay, they are assigned to utilize the same bay on all trips.
Okay, because I don't think that's happening consistently. That's really what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
And maybe it is a function of another bus being in the bus bay. So then I have to ask the driver, which bus bay are we at when I get off the bus? Because it makes a difference as to which direction I walk when I get off.
Absolutely. And that would be the same experience for all users. If you're expecting the bus to come to bay A and it comes to bay Z, then you're going to miss your connection.
Right. So I don't know if other people had expressed these concerns, but I wanted to share my concerns. So, Kent, do you have anything on this issue?
Yes, and your last statement, sorry, I forgot who was talking, but your point is well made that accessibility serves everyone. And just like the curb cut, right, intended for wheelchair users, everyone benefits from that. closed captioning. Most people benefit from that. So I want to echo Roseanne's concern, especially about the audio announcements, because I use those. And she's exactly right. There is an inconsistency there. Sometimes it's not announced at all on some buses. So if we could look into that, that would be very, very helpful.
Yes, we are actively investigating this. We even pulled bus 5312 out of service to try to figure out what the issue was. So we're looking at it from an individual bus, but it seemed like it's a global challenge that we're having currently.
Right. Okay, so I think I'd like to propose that we have this as an agenda item for, next meeting, which I believe is November the 12th, if I'm correct. It's second Tuesday in November?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I've kept everyone late. I appreciate everyone hanging in with us. It's difficult to get all this business done in an hour. We will do our best, and I'll try to keep us on time as much as I can. But I appreciate everyone's participation. Thank you so much. And I guess we'll say goodbye till November.
Thank you very much. Have a great
All
evening.
right. Thank you, Clinton.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kent.
Thanks, Roseanne.